Hi, Jason Fladlin here, and in today's video we're going to talk about product selection. Let's start it off with some of the importance related to the whole concept of product selection. To me, it's the number one most important factor for initial success with the ASM program. And here's what I mean. Sometimes you can pick a product with almost zero competition that you do almost no work for. It shows up on page one with almost zero effort and promotional capabilities, and it just makes like 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 a month. I have seen that very often, in fact. And so that's the number one factor for success with ASM. It doesn't necessarily mean that's what you need to do. And furthermore, I would not recommend you try to model that approach. It's kind of a deal as eventually, if we all pick enough products, we will all find a product that hits just like I just described. Now, for some of you, it might be the first product, but for most of you, it probably will not be the first type of product. But the point that I'm making, and this is why I bring this up, is the product is going to be the number one factor for success. Now, because of this, some people place too much emphasis on finding just the right product, or, oh my God, I got to find the right product, and so I'm so scared to make any decision. That's not what I'm recommending here, right? I'm just telling you that this is important for us to understand the product selection. Now, this does dictate the speed to the market. So the point being that, like, we could forego everything else. I could have the worst listing possible in terms of optimization with only one really crappy image, or in fact, you can put zero images on a listing on Amazon. We could have the worst title. We could have the worst price point. We could have everything wrong with this thing, but we could still sell it, provided we have the product. But if we don't have the product, nothing else matters. I could have the best listing, the best marketing strategies, on and on and on, but without a product, we can't do anything. So the product is the one thing that will dictate your speed of movement on Amazon. So it's kind of funny because it's the number one most important thing. It's also the thing we just need to get done and do it rather quickly so we can move forward. The other cool thing is if you pick products and they start to pop off, then you can actually build a brand around those products. So we'll talk more about that later. Now, there's two types of factors that I consider when sourcing products or picking products to sell on Amazon. There's what I call primary considerations and secondary considerations. Primary are the things that we cannot budge on. Secondary are the things that we can say, well, that makes this nicer. This doesn't make it as nice, but it's still not something that can make or break a deal for me when I consider products that I want to select and sell on Amazon. By far, the first and most important thing we absolutely must consider, above, far beyond anything else, is high demand, low supply. And here's the point behind this. I always say, like, you can't make $1 million selling Bibles to Muslims. It's not very easy to do because they don't want it. Here's the other cool thing is, you might say to me, Jason, why would anybody ever buy blank on Amazon? And my answer could be to you, I don't know. They just do. It always befuddles me how I still have to argue with customers who say, I can't imagine anybody would buy that. I say, it doesn't matter if you can or cannot imagine it because it's right there on Amazon. If the bestseller rank is this number, it means this many people in a recent amount of time have probably bought this one specific product. And if there's a couple of them and they've bought specific products from, then I don't care what you think. I don't care what I think. We know people are buying it on Amazon. That's what we want to. We want to sell products that a lot of people are buying on Amazon. High demand. If they're buying it and they're buying lots of it, it's going to be easier for us to profit from than if they're buying very little of it or if they don't even know that they should buy it, right? So high demand is the number one most important thing. The other one in the consideration here is what I call low supply. And that means that there's not a lot of vendors that know what they're doing who are selling to this audience. So in general, here's what this means. Now, keywords here are in general. There is no perfect formula. My friend Mike Long always says, hey, if you want something where you can follow it step by step exactly without any creative input on your part at own, he goes, the only place you can do that and still make money is at McDonald's, right? Running a business requires some ingenuity, some creative input, some interpretation, some contextual cues on your own that you have to fill in the blanks. So in general, we shoot for products between a bestseller rank of 400 and 1100, with at least 2 or 3 people on page 1 of Amazon for the main keyword that are within that bestseller rank in general, right? These are the categories that I look for in general between 400 and 1100, as you can see them all here. Now, by the way, there's a couple with asterisks here. This means these don't do as much in terms of volume or however you say it, uh, as some of these other categories. So industrial and scientific is somewhat of a weaker category. So I would be more likely to want something in the closer to 400 than 1100 in this category. Same thing with musical instruments. Toys and games, this is an asterisk not because of demand, but because you're going to find a lot of brand-driven products in here. And also seasonal products like right now. There's a lot of, well, I guess we missed it, Halloween costumes that are being sold on Amazon and Halloween related stuff that's going to be over with here pretty soon. So that's just some of the considerations. Some of these categories, like the money categories, if you want to get into money categories, where, I mean, there's a massive amount of demand and a lot of people buy a lot of stuff on, is beauty, cell phone and accessories, health and personal care, home and kitchen and dining, pet supplies, patio, lawn and gardening, sports and outdoors. Those are what, oh yeah, there's one other one, baby. These are what I consider the creme de la creme, the premium, the highest quality categories you can get in Amazon. So I'm more likely to go above even 1100 in those categories than some of these other categories here, right? But the whole point being, any of these categories is good, and don't limit yourself. Pick any or all of these, but just know some of the nuances. In general, though, anything between that and this is good enough demand. Now, we specifically go with around this area because supply is usually very low for these types of products. So that's already how one of the ways that we filter out high demand, low supply. It really helps shortcut the process. At the end of the day, we still have to do our due diligence and research, but this is just something that helps us. Now, one other point I want to make here before we move on is I say 2 to 3 page 1 sellers between 400 and 1100. So let's just say, and I'm going to show some examples later here, but let's just say we do a keyword search for a main product and we see there's at least 2 people, maybe 3, maybe even 4 people on page 1 that all are hovering around the bestseller rank between 400 and 1100. Is that a good thing? Yes, it's a good thing. Let's say we can only find 1 person on page 1 with that bestseller rank. However, we found 4 on page 15 with that bestseller rank. Is that a good sign? The answer is not generally. What does that mean? You can be on page 15 and have a high bestseller rank on Amazon. It usually means you're driving your own traffic yourself, which is okay, but it doesn't validate that people are searching for this on Amazon, and it doesn't make it easy for us to get free traffic. So my criteria is we can find for a particular product maybe 3 or 4 or 5 people that are in the top 1,000. However, if only one of them is on page 1, it's a consideration of demand of potentially not doing that as a product. It's definitely a strike against it. Doesn't necessarily eliminate it, but it's something to consider, right? So this is why I say 2 to 3 page 1 sellers between 400 and 1100. Now here's the second criteria, multiple page 1 sellers with less than 30 reviews. This just simply means that they're probably newer, and so if they can rank and be new, that means we can rank on page 1 and be new as well. There are certain categories where you'll see where everybody has tons of reviews, and it usually means that it's probably harder to get to page 1 very quickly for those types of products. Otherwise, why don't we see people who got to page 1 quickly for those types of products, right? So it's a consideration as well. Now, by the way, if there are people with 5,000 reviews for this product, and there's 7 of them on page 1, is that a deal killer? No. If there are 7 people with over 5,000 reviews that are all really great reviews on page 1, but there's also like 3 with less than 30, I'm in. Sounds good to me, right? It just shows you that while there are some people that are doing really good, there's still not enough of them, low supply, to satisfy the demand of the market. Part of Amazon is a numbers game, you have to understand. With so many people looking at so many different products, some of them are bound to pick your product over somebody else's product for no other reason than there's a lot of people looking at a lot of different products. Hence, high demand, low supply, right? This is another good factor, non-relevant page 1 results. So when I go to Amazon and search for a portable baby sound machine, this is what I can discover. Now, some of these are obviously very relevant. Most of these are. But as we get down here further, we start noticing stuff like a swing and seat, which is not super duper relevant, and we absolutely notice annoying sound effects machine is not relevant whatsoever for portable baby sound machine. So that simply tells us that supply is low. Demand could be high as long as we find bestseller ranks on page 1 that are doing around 400 to 11. I might go a little lower because baby is what I consider a premium category, okay? Let me give you some examples, and we'll play the game. Which one of these are good? Which one of these are bad? Which one of these are okay type of products. Let's do the first one here, hitch lock. So here's a search result for hitch lock. So here's the first thing I do. I immediately open up. So we see one by Trimax, one by Kurt. We see another by Trimax. And we see a third by Trimax, which might be cause for concern. But I'm not too worried about it right now. I'm going to open up just 2 from Trimax. I don't like to open up multiple listings from brands. Just 1 or 2 from a brand. Kurt, we've opened up. Let's open up Master Lock here, which you say, oh my God, Jason, that's a big brand. Oh no, it's not that big a brand. Here's another couple Master Locks. Let's just open up one more. And let's open up this one. And let's open up this one and this one. So this is what I immediately do. Let's gauge demand across multiple different hitch locks being sold on Amazon. So here's one, and this one has a bestseller rank of 113 in automotive. That's very good demand. Here's another one by Kurt, and this one has 869 in automotive. That's excellent. Here's one by Trimax, and this one has 247 in automotive. That's pretty good. Now here's something else we'll consider later, shipping weight. But for now, we're just looking at demand. That's the number one most important thing, so that's all we're focusing on currently. 1600, not bad, by Master Lock, which, by the way, it shows you people that you might not know as mainstream big brands. They're outselling the mainstream big brands. But here's another one that's good. 457. Here's one by Flagline, and this one's 2000. This is not bad, by the way. You could still probably do 5,000-6,000 a month on it. Here's another one in the top 1100. So. And here's another one yet again that's, it does okay. Here's the point. Does it pass our first criteria of demand? Yes, there are multiple people selling in the top 1100, which is always a good sign. So what's the second consideration? The second consideration then is how hard would it be for us to get on page 1? Well, this one has 77, but this one only has 44 reviews. And then we have one with 54 reviews. We have one with 62, 41, 90, 96. In general, I'd like to see less reviews on page 1. For this, I will make an exception, and I will tell you why. We make an exception because, first of all, there is one with 44 on this page, and there's another one with 54. But here's the second reason why we make the exception from less than 30 reviews. Because this is a type of product how easy is it to review this product? And the answer is it's extremely easy. You try it out. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, then not great, right? Some products take 3 to 5 to 10 or 15 or 20 days to review. So like a prenatal vitamin, how long does it take before somebody feels comfortable reviewing that, right? Certain products have that instant review capabilities to them, so I adjust the numbers ever so slightly. Again, creative input is required to run a business. There's no exact black and white formula of success, right? So in this particular case, my grade thus far in terms of demand, high demand, low supply, is very favorable. I love this product, in fact. It's a great product. My only consideration at this point is profitability. And that's why we have that coming up under here. But before we get that, let's look at another one. Let's go and let's analyze a swaddle blanket. So again, let's test demand first. Here's Aiden, so I'm going to open that one up. Here's Summer Infant. Now there's 2 from Summer Infants, and there's 2 from Aiden. So I'm just going to skip those for now. We already got one from Aiden, one from Summer Infant. Let's see what Hudson Baby has. And there's another one from Hudson, another one from Summer Infant. Let's look at Nested Bean here. And let's look at the Miracle Blanket. Let's look at Halo. And a couple more from Summer Infant. Let's look at Lammy and Me as well. Okay? And that's pretty good. Let's check out their demand. So this first one is 160 in baby. That's good. Very good. This one's 158. Interesting. Here's one that's 1800. Not bad for baby. 3000. And it's okay. 1000. Pretty good. 357. Excellent. And 3,000, not too bad. So is the demand there? Yes, absolutely, 100% it's there, right? What about the supply? Well, this one has only 35. This one has 44 reviews. This one has 25. This one has 44. So it's, it's on the fringe. Is it a product I would consider? Absolutely. The point of this is we would want to have multiple products where we feel that have decent demand supply ratio. So when we go and source these products and we talk to vendors and suppliers, we're not just hoping and praying that one of our magic products is going to work. We might have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 of these products that we're considering, right? Now, I personally would still go with a product like this because I feel confident enough that I could probably rank very quickly on this thing. So I would get into stuff such as like, who the hell is this nested bean person? Let me grab their URL. Let me go over to camel. Let me then plug in their URL. Let me see the result. I'm going fast intentionally. Don't think you can catch all this today. I'm going to do more training on this here in the future. And so we can see this person has been around for August 5th was the first time they've gotten a plot. So they're very new. They've sold pretty good. They've been up and down, up and down, up and down, and I might want to investigate why. But the point is, here's somebody who started selling in August, who by October is on page 1 for Swaddle Blanket. Okay? So it's a one I wouldn't eliminate. It wouldn't be my top priority. I like the hitch lock better in terms of demand-supply ratio, but it's still, this one isn't bad, right? Let's move on and look at another example. Circle cutter. Now here's what's really interesting about this product. The first thing we would notice here is Martha Stewart. She's selling really good, but then we have a different type of circle cutter. And then we have yet another type of circle cutter. Then we go back to Martha Stewart. And then we have an alternative to Martha Stewart, right? Then we have another circle cutter here. And then we have this thing, which is not even applicable. And we would look at the demand. So first of all, these are different products. But this one is 407, which is selling really good. This one is not the same type of product, and it's not even selling. It's selling okay. This is, again, not the same as the other one, I don't think. Unless, oh, this one cuts circles for you. So maybe, right? 2100, not bad. This is another Martha Stewart one at 2000, which is okay, not great. Here's another circle cutter that's non-Martha Stewart that does 301, right? And here's another circle cutter that's 12,000. And then I would probably go on and I would probably look at more. I never look at add-on items. I could talk about that later, not in this video. I skip them when I'm engaging in demand. Now this one is not applicable, so I'm just going to skip those. So what we want to look is the easy circle cutter stuff. I would say who else has there? Here's another Fiskars one. And here is a Blade Runner circle cutter, which is, again, not what we want. We want the arts and crafts circle cutters, not the industrial ones. And it does okay. So where's the verdict at on a product like this from a demand perspective? I don't like it too much, and I'll tell you why. Martha Stewart is a very big brand name. So she might be driving traffic from her talk show by using her thing, and then people are going and looking at it. The other thing that I don't like is the only other one besides Martha Stewart that sold okay was this Fiskars. So it's on the fringe. The demand isn't that great in my opinion, but the supply is even worse. 3 reviews, 34 reviews, 17, 14, 24, 42, whatever, right? So it's not my favorite product, but it's not bad. So I would, and this is why we want multiple products. I want to have 10 or 15 products potentially, or at least 5, and I can rank them in order. So I could say, worst case scenario, I just put a feeler out on a stupid circle cutter just in case I have to go with this product anyway. But this is the kind of considerations and the weight that we apply to these different things. Let's look at this other one, dog poop bags. Now, dog poop bags is very interesting. It's funny to say that. First of all, let's open them up for multiple vendors. Downtown Pet Supply, Earth Related, Easy. Here's another one by Easy, so I'll skip that one. Pedica, the Poop Bag Shop. Let's go to Pogies, Shopping Line, Bags on Board, and Earth Rated. Let's see what the demand looks like, right? So here's the first one. It sells pretty good, 470 in pet supplies. The second one's 64. It's excellent, 84. See, here's the problem: is there's too much demand, which I'll show you how supply affects that. Too much demand on its own is not bad. This one's 551, so that's selling incredibly good. 222, it's selling insanely good, right? 257, you get the point. We don't even have to look any further. But here's one in the top 1100. Here's another one in the top 1600. Here's another one, 250, right? So the demand for dog poop bags is incredible. Now here's the downside of this. What's the supply? And the supply is pretty good. First of all, if you look at number of reviews, now this one's the anomaly, 12. 62 is pretty low but not super low. 60 is low but not super low, and that's it. So with the anomaly being this only one here of 12, The rest of these are super, super competitive in the sense of lots of reviews. But even more importantly, this is called truncation optimization. I invented this. I taught this in Vegas at the live ASM event to 2,700 people. And now you will notice in a lot of categories with a lot of sellers, somebody's using this. They're either an ASMer who saw me teach this to everybody, or they are somebody who saw an ASMer do this because they saw it from me, and then they adopted it themselves. So see how at perfectly 111 characters in, the word free, the last word before it's truncated, this person is smart. They know what they're doing. So they're very well versed in marketing. So they're going to be a challenge to go up against. This person has like 700. They're not an ASMR. By the way, is this person an ASMer? Yes, they are. I guarantee you, because of the optimization of the title. Plus, when you factor into that, maybe not. Maybe they're somebody who saw an ASMR do this and they tweaked it, right? Because they have a really small product description, only 3 images, and if you look at what they sell 67 different products. So they're a non-ASMer, but they're relatively sophisticated, and it could be that they just landed by luck, that truncation there. This one's not an ASMer, this one's not because of the short titles, that's how I know. But we get into this one probably is. Why? Maybe not. Long title, but it's not too long, but they only sell 1 product. They don't have any other images, and not a very good long description. So they might be, they might not be. But the further down you get into this, the more likely you are to find ASMers. But the point being, even this is another one that's probably an ASMer. The point being is there's a lot of competition in this sense. Yeah, this is an ASMer. Anytime you see a click add to cart button with a color on it like this, total ASMer. I'll talk more about spotting ASMers here in the future, but the point of this is this one is super competitive, not overly competitive, but somewhat competitive. So I would still go on my list, but it would go further down. The demand for this is absolutely incredible, but the supply is also pretty good. Now here's the deal. How the heck did this person with just 12 customer reviews get on there? This is the only product they sell in this category because I clicked on their brand name. If we click on their Seller Central name down here, we can also see what other products that they have. But this one is a little bit misleading because look at all the other products they have. They're probably just a reseller. So they're one of those arbitrageurs or resellers on Amazon who buy a product and then from the same Seller Central account they resell the product used or something like that. So they're not using an existing customer base to kite the sales of this dog poop bag. Okay, so again, what do? We go over here, we look at camel, camel, camel. We say, how the hell did this person in a super competitive thing like dog poop bags show up as a #1 listing? Now, how they've been here, they've started tracking data since September 25th. They immediately started in the top 1,000. Their worst was 995. Their best was 290. And so what we would do beyond all this is what I would figure out then is I would say Pedica dog poop bags, and I would do a Google search. And what I would really try to do is I would try to find coupon codes. And so first of all, I found save1.me. I might find a coupon code here for one of the best deals. So whatever they did here, somebody picked up and started running deals on now. Don't even ask me. Okay, let's click on this. I want to find a coupon code. That's what I'm looking for right here. Maybe I can find one, maybe I can't. So the other thing I'd go back is I would go until I found potentially a coupon code. So I might even just type in coupon. And then we might see poopbags.com. We might be able to find one. I'm not going to do this here, and this was just on the cuff here, but if I can find a coupon code for this, then I'll go back and literally search for that coupon code. I might even type in discount, or I might even type in Amazon, and then here's what I like to do, by the way, -site:/Amazon.com, so it'll remove all the Amazon.com URLs. So we found this really weird link to somebody's, it looks like, ASM account. That's kind of funny. But here's the Pedica one, right? Here's another one. So we might be able to find a coupon. Maybe they never even sold it as a discount. Maybe they just, however they distributed this stuff, maybe that was enough of a sale to make it go. I don't know, right? So I would dig in further here to figure it out before I ranked it on my list of potential products in the demand supply category as far as how much demand supply could we compete with this, could we not. But in general, with all these sellers, all over 100 reviews, it'll go on my list, but it won't go at the top. In this particular case, Hitchlock is still my favorite. It would probably be between swaddle blanket and dog poop bags for second and third, circle cutters the fourth. Let's look at the last one here, forearm bands. So again, same kind of concept, right? We're going to go, here's Pro Band Sports. Here's another one. I'll skip it because it looks very similar to the first. Let's look at Mueller has one. Alio has one. Bracco has one. TFY has one. McDavid. And this is interesting. This one's not directly related, but it's showing up, which is a potentially good sign because that means supply is low for forearm band. So let's look at this first one here. 125, that sells incredibly well. This one's at 13,000 though. That's horrible. Here's another one that's at 8,000, which is not very good. Here's one from Bracco. It's 7,000. That's not very good. Here's one that's 33,000. Not very good. Which, by the way, this is a cool, interesting image. So I might save this image as a secondary image to consider doing something similar, a 4-panel shot with 1, 2, 3, 4 to see how it works, right? So sometimes you just discover stuff when you do that. Here's another one here from an elbow band, 4,000. So the verdict is the demand for this is not very good. Not very good at all. There's one person who sells really good, but that's it. The reason why when I look at this and if I see one person selling good, I don't really like it because they might not be getting their traffic from Amazon. They might be driving the traffic themselves, or it might be because there are a brand name or some other factor. So I would probably skip this. The only upside to this is, the demand is, while the demand is somewhat low, the supply is incredibly low, right? So this is not directly applicable of a product. This is definitely not applicable as a product. How many people are we under 30 reviews here? A tremendous amount, right? So it's still not a bad product. It's something I would consider, like if I was in this niche and I already had a brand that I established, I would add the forearm band. Like here's a great example. So Alio, or Ileo, or however the hell you say it, just in this niche alone, or just in this category alone, they have 10 different products. They have a Qzx pillow, they have bands, loop bands, and so this thing they can just add, even though it's not going to make them a whole bunch of money, because it's free. It's free money. They already have a brand, they already have customers, and so it's not going to make them a lot, but it's still going to make them something, and it has almost no competition, so they add it. So these types of products aren't bad products. They just might not be the product that you want to start with first. Why? Because the demand's a little low. So that'd be the consideration there. So that's how I would rank these. I would actually, if we wanted to rank these, I would put, I don't know which one I would, I don't know if I'd put the dog poop bags second and swaddle third, but it'd be something along those lines. These would be tied for second. And these are just 5. Now, I found all of these products in the bestseller matrix just a few minutes before I shot this video. If I would have spent an hour or 2 hours, I probably had a list of 15 or 20 decent products. And then I could then make the top 5 look really solid. And then from the top 5, start contacting suppliers. Now, before I go into the top 5, I got to make sure to satisfy these criteria before we contact suppliers. So here's the other one, easy to private label. Reasonable MOQ. That means minimum order quantity. Decent lead time, options from multiple suppliers. So reasonable minimum order quantity is if I have a certain budget that I want to spend up front for my initial inventory order, and I can't find a supplier that has something that I can negotiate to a smaller MOQ, then I won't do the product even if I think it's the best product, right? I just want to get it on the market, get it there fast, which then leads into the second thing. Lead time from China can be anywhere between as fast as 10 days to as much as 50 days or somewhere in between. So again, we want to be able to contact multiple suppliers to get an idea of the differences in lead time available. If you're in the United States, lead time can be as little as 5 days to still as much as 50 days or 30 days or somewhere in between. So I'm looking for products. So if I have a list of 5 or 10 products that I'm contacting suppliers for, I guarantee you I will find more than one product with a reasonable MOQ with a decent lead time. And more importantly, I'll have multiple suppliers that can that all have reasonable MOQ and decent lead time. The more options we have, the better in this particular case. So I won't know any of these things until I start contacting suppliers. So when I take my list of 5, I run through it one more time and just consider, is there going to be a possibility to find multiple suppliers? So I might go to Alibaba and do a quick search there. I might do a quick Google search, not an exhaustive one at this point, but just to get a lay of the land, a feel, make it quick, move on. The last thing to consider here is if we can't make money with this, it doesn't matter how good the demand is and how low the supply is. So here's what I typically aim for on a profit margin. So when I start contacting suppliers or consider certain products to rank them in the top 5, we start with demand and then we kind of tweak it a little bit based on potential for profit margin. Anything above 40% profit margin is absolutely fantastic. Even 40% is absolutely great. Anything under 40% have a reason. So a great reason would be, well, the demand for this is incredible and the supply sucks. So I'd be okay with a 25% profit margin. That's a good reason, okay? A bad reason would be, but I really love this particular product and it's so cool and I'm passionate about it. No, that's an emotional decision, not a logical one. That's not a good reason, okay? Shipping weight is going to affect profit margin. So when I say, for example, like a forearm band, let's just say, I mean, the good news about a forearm band is how much do you think one of these things weighs shipping weight-wise? 6.4 ounces. How easy would it be to cram them into a box and airship them from China? Pretty damn easy. When you get to the hitch lock, that's where it gets a little bit more complicated. So let's open up a couple of these and let's look at the variance and potential shipping weight considerations. Okay? This is how I play this game. I say, okay, this one weighs 8 ounces. Okay? Product dimension is going to affect the shipping weight is about a pound. So this is absolutely reasonable. So as long as we can find hitch locks that are like this, that's good. Here's another one, and again, shipping weight 2 pounds. That still could potentially work, right? This one is probably going to be a big fat one, 4 pounds. So no, that won't work. Probably it could, but not ideal. 2 pounds, much better. The point is we could probably find a hitch lock at the right shipping weight that customers like. So that's good. Now here's what I like to do. If I calculate like 47.2% profit margin and I think I've crossed all my T's and dotted all my I's, I immediately deduct at least 5%. So I say 47% is what I think worst case scenario my profit's going to be. Let's take 5 away from that just for my margin of error, just in case I forgot something, overlooked something, or there's some sort of cost that pops up that I wasn't expecting. You might want to deduct 10% profit margin margin of error at the beginning, because there's going to be unforeseen costs that you might not account for. So the good news is if those costs kick in, you're still going to be able to make this work, and if they don't kick in, that's just free money to you. Profit margin is, can it retail between $14.99 and $49.95 in general? There's certain price points that no matter what, once you get above them, they quit being impulsive decisions and start to be made more from informational sources, which is not what we want to specialize in. So I typically, with rare exception, again, it has to have a good reason, I don't go above $49.95 retail, but I don't go below $14.99. So if we were analyzing these products again from a supply-demand perspective, when we go back to Hitchlock, let's take a look at this. This sells for 14, 13, 27, 16, 13, 16, 24, 16, 18, 40, 13, 14, 18, 35. So what should we sell ours for? Well, by the way, it's kind of silly to price it based on what the competition sells theirs for. And I'll tell you why. So do people buy one of these for $14? Yes, they do. But do they also buy them at $27? Yes, they do. Do they also buy them for $40? Yes, they do. Customers will pay under the right conditions up to $40 for a hitch lock like this. My feeling is I feel very comfortable being able to sell this thing for $29.95. I feel no matter what I can sell it for $19.95, and I think that even if I can't make $29.95 work, $24.95 looks like it could work. But I'm pretty confident I can make $29.95 work. So if I say $29.95 minus all the other costs associated with this, and what's left, is it 40% once I deduct an additional 5 for miscellaneous? Is it good? Yeah. If it's not good, do I have a reason to go under 40? If so, yes. If not, then this probably drops down on my list of 5 and where I rank them. Now, by the way, at the end of the day, a good reason is this. I've tried 4 other products and I haven't gotten back any results, so let me try this 5th one anyway, because maybe this one will be that I get listed. So a good reason is, instead of waiting 2 months to find the perfect product at above 40%, let me just sell one today that has a 35% profit margin, right? So that's again why I recommend, like, I will go out and I will look for suppliers simultaneously for these 4 things. Maybe not forearm band at first, but these 4 I will. So that way, whoever pops first that has the reasonably easiness to private label, that has an okay option for profit margin, is who I'm going to go with. Simple as that. And you say, Jason, none of these are even related. Exactly, I don't care. Demand trumps every other consideration. Okay? Now let's say you have 3 products and you have multiple suppliers for each of these 3 products and they all look really good, and now you have the luxury of choice on what your first product on Amazon is going to be. So then you might want to go into secondary considerations. Keyword secondary. All of these are optional. Differentiation. We do not need a superior product. We do not need a different version of the product. We differentiate in marketing, not with product. So let me give you an example. And this is not a product I would recommend that you go in for a couple different reasons. One of them is the MOQ for this is a lot. It's pretty substantial to get into this type of product. It's a good product, but nobody should be doing this here in ASM4, but it's a great example. Is this, and this, the top 4 results, all the exact same electronic pulse massager? And the answer is yes, they are. They're all exactly the same. Now here's what's even more ironic. Prospera is the #1 for this keyword, and they have a lower price than TrueMedic. So TrueMedic is $39.97, Prospera is $31.59. Prospera is ranked #1 in Amazon. TrueMedic's ranked #2. Okay? The bestseller rank for this is 5,000 for the #1. The bestseller rank for this one is 195. What? I'll tell you what, this one does better marketing. Remember when if you saw any of my pre-launch videos, I showed a postcard where I showed how you can get on their VIP list, so that way you could get a free warranty upgrade from 90 days to a year for their device. This is why they're the #1 bestseller. This is why they have more reviews. This is why they can sell at a higher price. I own both of these. I bought both Prospera and TrueMedic. So I own both of these, and I'll tell you, not only are they the exact same supplier, but they both include some really crappy batteries from China that are the exact same batteries from China. The only difference is TrueMedic has certain inserts and Prospera has other inserts, but they're the exact same product. Now the third result here at $32.95, how does that sell? And this one sells not bad, right? But the point is, it's the exact same product, and it still sells worse than the TrueMedic, even though it has a lower price. It is the exact same product. That's the only difference, right? Is one is superior at marketing than the other is. Very enlightening. So I love selling the same exact product to somebody else and then just doing better on the marketing. How do you do better on the marketing? Well, you just pay attention in ASM Masters. That's how you do better. I can show you a million ways to do better in the marketing. So we do not need a better product per se. If we have it, and that's an option, let's take it. But it's not a requirement. Seasonality. Is there seasonality to the product? So a TENS unit does not have any seasonality. It doesn't, right? But a fairy princess costume has tremendous seasonality to it, right? So maybe if I wanted to start and I could take advantage of a seasonal trend, that would be great. But it's a consideration secondarily to know. Certain products, the bestseller rank might be amazing in season, but out of season it might be horrible. So it's just a consideration when you say, okay, let me look at the demand. As long as I can get in during the season, that's fine. Or if it does great off season, that's great. I'll still cash in off season, and then when it kicks in to be in season, then that's even more money for me. And can you tap into that coming season? So just run that as a filter for demand, as a gauge to be like, is this due to seasonality? It's not a foolproof thing, but one of the things that you can do to consider, and again, it's a general recommendation. It's not fail-proof by any situation, but it kind of gives you a feel, is you go to Google Trends and you put the keyword in. So fairy princess costume, it's no surprise this thing looks like a roller coaster. It peaks in October, everywhere else it dies, and then it goes back to October, right? But if you say like electronic pulse massager, relatively consistent. Now you find it in March and in May. It's somewhat seasonal in the sense of people maybe going out and exercising more and needing more rehabilitation during the spring. I don't know. But it's not like giant peaks and valleys. And again, this is just search on Google. This has nothing to do with purchasing intent on Amazon, right? If you look at something like a fish oil, for example, you're going to see this is extremely flat line. Okay? But if you look at somebody like raspberry, how do you spell that? Ketones, you're going to notice that all of a sudden it was nothing, and then boom, it shot up, and then it's died off in popularity, right? These can give you a good insight into the trending. Like acai berry was super popular, and now it's not popular anymore. So these are some of the considerations that you might make for seasonality of the product. Is it only in demand right now on Amazon because it's in season? That's usually pretty obvious, even without a Google trend, to tap into that. Product knowledge. If you know about the product, that can be beneficial to you. However, it's not required. In fact, I often joke that less initial knowledge in the product is better. Like, what the heck do I know about hitch locks? I don't know anything about hitch locks. What do I know about dog poop bags? I've never owned a dog in my life, right? But here's the deal. If I find a good supplier, if I reason that the demand's there, if the profitability's there, the private labeling ease is there, then when it comes time to pull the trigger, then I can educate myself on the product. And here's how I educate myself on the product. I mean, it's the easiest thing in the world. Dog poop bags. I spend about a half an hour or so, and I read multiple people's 5-star reviews, and I read multiple people 1-star reviews over multiple products, and I get a feel. This is what the customer likes. This is what the customer hates, right? That's my education. That's the totality of it. Any product that we can sell on Amazon, we can, right before we get the purchase order, the PO, educate ourselves fully to best understand before going further with that product. A secondary consideration is brand domination. Now, this is different than competing with brands. So let me give you an example like this. So if we go back to the hitch lock, wouldn't you agree with me that Master Lock is a big brand? And I mean not just big in the industry. I mean overall. Almost everybody's heard of Master Lock. Now some of these might be brands within, and some of these may not be brands within, right? But the point of it is people don't say when they're considering buying a hitch lock, if I buy a hitch lock, it's got to be a Master Lock, or it's got to be a Trimex, or it's got to be a Kirk. They don't say that, right? However, if I'm buying diapers for my kids, I ain't buying Parents' Choice. That's like the generic crappy brand. I'm buying Huggies or Pampers, okay? Because to me, when I think diapers, it's got to be a brand. It's got to be a brand. When I think phone, I think it's got to be a brand. I'm not going to buy some off-name phone, you know? I'm not going to buy an iPhone with an F in it, right? And so if it is because of the brand, like I'll give you a really good example. Squatty Potty is a type of thing that people buy. Now they specifically look for Squatty Potty. It helps them. It's basically, it's a toilet step. Okay? Now here's the funny thing. Here's Step and Go Toilet Step, which is some very generic alternative to the Squatty Potty. Great picture right there, by the way. But you'll find their BSR is not very good. Why? Because when people are looking for this, they're looking for a Squatty Potty. So they're looking specifically for the brand name. If they're searching for the brand name and that's causing the sales, you will not be able to compete with that. If they're even searching for the generic like toilet seat and the brand is the only one that shows up on page 1 with any sales, you might not be able to compete with that. But if a brand just happens to be there, but there's no reason for somebody to buy it because of the brand name, then you can compete. So by the way, we beat Carter's all day long in baby because people know Carter's related to clothing. But when Carter sells something else that's non-clothing related in babies, the customer doesn't say, oh my God, it's got to be a Carter's pacifier, right? Or whatever, and we beat them. Secondary considerations is beyond Amazon. Does this product have legs beyond Amazon? Can I do okay with it in Google pay-per-click potentially? Can I advertise it on Facebook potentially? Is there other areas I can get leverage with this product? It's not needed, but it's a consideration if you want to break a tie between two products that you have great suppliers for that you can stick it on Amazon. A secondary is consideration is ASM saturated. By the way, I never worry about that because we can beat all ASMers that are non-ASM masters. They don't have the tools or the resources available that we do, but I always like to look. Do they have long titles with weird characters? Are there lots of listings on page 1 with long titles with weird characters in them, like tilde signs and what's the other favorite one? The stars, right? Higher prices or prices ending in 7. That's usually a telltale sign that they're an ASMer. Really long bullet points, the truncation optimization as we discussed earlier. Long HTML product descriptions with the words click add to cart in them. Okay? And maybe they only have 1 or 2 products and they're probably an ASMer. So it's just a consideration. If there's 1 or 2 on page 1 or 3 even, I'm very happy because it proves the model. If there's 15 on page 1, I'll probably skip the product because ASMers have hammered it to death. And for every 15 you see on page 1, there's probably 500 behind it, which is most likely to be one of the 47 products that we listed, right? If there's 0 ASMers on page 1, that's not necessarily a good thing because it doesn't necessarily validate the model, but it's not a bad thing either. It's just a consideration secondarily if you're doing a tiebreaker between 2 great products, both of which you have a supplier, and you just don't know which one to pull the trigger on. Category restrictions is another one here. Automotive, it requires some sort of approval. Health and personal care requires some sort of approval. I can't remember the other ones because honestly, it's not a big friggin' deal. It's super duper easy if you follow the instructions to the letter. Okay, I'm getting approval on these categories, so I would never ever, if I had a good product, say, well, gee, I won't do it because of a category restriction. The only exception is clothing, because you have to have like 20 ASINs before they allow you to sell in clothing. That's a serious restriction. If it's like provide 3 invoices from a supplier, that's not a serious restriction. Okay, and again, it's a secondary consideration. That's just to break a tie. If I have 2 great products and one of them requires restrictions and one of them doesn't, I'll probably go with the one that doesn't. Okay? But it's a secondary consideration, not a primary one. Here are the speed bumps that you're likely to encounter when you go and select your product. And are there ASM 1ers who still do not have a product however many months later? Yes. There's ASM masters from ASM 1 who still have yet to get a product going. And it pains me. But here's why they take forever to get a product, a year or more to get a product private label and going on Amazon. It's not because of the complexity of it, because it's relatively simple. It's not because of the opportunity, because that's relatively simple as well. It's because they place too much pressure. They need to make this product work. It absolutely needs to make sense to them before they move forward with it. It's got to be something that's passionate about. Guess what? When you put too much pressure on yourself, there's no wonder that you can't do it. You have to learn how to operate with little to no pressure when you make your day-to-day decisions. Otherwise, you lock up. The biggest pressure of all comes from, it's got to be the perfect product. There is no such thing as the perfect product. The perfect product is any product that you get up there that makes more money than it costs you to put the product up there. That's the perfect product. You're going to be in this business long term, I hope, right? You're going to have multiple products, yeah? So who cares what the first product is? It's just one product on the way to many products that all in the totality will build $1 million plus business for you. Big speed bump is the brand. Well, I got to consider brand, or I want to source multiple products in the same category, or blah, blah, blah. I like to look at it as this. The branding should be a byproduct of good marketing. Once you start selling really good, naturally a brand will emerge from that. And then you just double down on that brand. Who cares what the brand is today? Just pick something and move it, and you can rebrand stuff in the future. IBM used to be known as International Business Machines, right? Procter & Gamble is a brand, but how many different cereals do they sell under their own brands, right? Mars is also a candy bar, but it's also a candy brand. Now, the Mars bar is not very popular, but Snickers and those things are super popular. They're all made by Mars, right? You can brand, you can sub-brand, you can do all that stuff as a response to favorable reception in the marketplace of your product. So don't worry about that. Here's the big deal, fear of commitment. You're scared to move forward because you know you will then be more responsible with your product if you actually get one up there. Acknowledge this. Yes, I am afraid to move forward because then it'll be much more clearer if I have what it takes to succeed or not succeed. Say I understand that's an issue, but by understanding that that's an issue, I won't ignore it. I'll just say, when the time comes, after I make my commitment, even though I'm scared of it, this is how I'm going to justify that it's okay to make the commitment even though I fear the commitment. And then come up with a reason to justify it, and then you actually get stuff done. Now here's what's really cool. I asked yesterday in the Facebook group for questions related to product sourcing because I knew I was going to shoot this video here today. And I took some of the really good ones that weren't covered in here that I thought were important. If I don't answer them, they're probably not important, so just don't worry about them anymore. But here's some really good questions. Here's the first one. If we are trying to get into a niche, does it make sense to start with a low-priced product? No. It only makes sense to start with a low-priced product if the demand is amazing and the supply is horrible. The main factor is demand and supply. The second factor of the primary considerations then is ease of profitability. The third factor is profit margin. Secondary, potentially, if you find multiple products that are good and one of them has a lot smaller outlay for initial inventory, then it might make sense. But in general, I pick by demand, not by price point. How do I estimate how many giveaway I should do to rank on page 1 for a product? You really don't estimate. What you do is you go out there and you make a plan to say, let's start with selling a couple a day, X number a day, consistently for Y number of days. How many do I feel I could do reasonably? 10 a day, 15 a day, 20 a day. We don't necessarily have to give them away. If we can find ways to break even or make a small amount on the purchase, then we can sell as many as we want in any given period of time, right? If we're outright just giving them away to try to buy rank, as I refer to it on page 1, that's also a giant question mark. There's a million different ways that you could try to figure that out. At the end of the day, I say if there's a lot of people on page 1 that don't have a lot of reviews, then it's just a matter of let's move 10 units a day for a couple days and see what happens. And then we can adjust, right? If there's a lot of competition, then I want to move 50 units a day for 4 or 5 days to try to get on page 1. So if I like dog poop bag, for example, would be one of those, right? If it's somewhere in between, then I will want to do a combination of giveaway promotions plus Amazon ads plus maybe 1 or 2 other things to mess around with it. But really, you go out there, you set a baseline based on what you think the supply is, and then you adjust it based on the results that Amazon shows you. Now, by the way, it takes Amazon a couple days after they see activity to change your ranking, so it's not instantaneous. I love this question. What about sold and fulfilled by Amazon? So there are 2 types of sellers on Amazon. There are seller central sellers like you and I are, right? And then there are vendor accounts. So there's seller central accounts and then there are vendor accounts. So let me show you the difference between the 2. So here's a kitchen shear that's sold, or it says ships from and sold by Amazon.com. You say, oh my God, how could I compete with them? Because KitchenAid has a vendor account with Amazon. So they must be doing good, right? Well, here's how you can. Here's the telltale signs of somebody who doesn't optimize their vendor account. They'll usually have a comma black or comma colored, a short title, no images, or no video. Important because vendors can put videos here. The other thing vendors can do is for a product description, they have the ability to pay for HTML templates to beautify their product description even further, which of course this person is not taking advantage of. So here's the answer to this. How can we compete with vendor accounts or ships from and sold by Amazon? And the answer is usually very easily. Because most people, when they get taken over by Amazon from a vendor account, they don't do any work because they think they're on easy street. And as a result of not doing any work, they actually hurt themselves when Amazon takes them over. So I love the fact that there's a lot of vendors for an account. Now, by the way, I did it. The kitchen shears is kind of funny because this is also shipped and sold by Amazon. This also doesn't take advantage of the video option. And this also doesn't take advantage of the product description, right? Let's look at another one. So this is let's look at Wusthof. Come apart kitchen shears. This one is not shipped and sold by Amazon, but it's also not Prime. So this is another person that we're competing with, quote unquote. So that's a good sign. Let's look at this other one here by Ergo Chef. And this one is shipped and sold by Amazon. Now at least this person has put images in here. And nope, they didn't spring a couple $100 to get a better product description. So they're at a disadvantage because their title's horrible. Here's another one that I can tell sold by Amazon. Comma, black, comma, 9-inch. It's a classic vendor title. Now, you have to fight Amazon if they offer you a vendor account, because they'll want you to run titles like this. And most people won't fight them, and so therefore their listing loses money after Amazon takes it over. And again, nobody's using a product description there, right? Let's see if we can find anybody who's actually taken advantage of the shipped and sold by Amazon. This person doesn't have a video over here. They don't have a product description. Come on, we got to find somebody right now. By the way, comma, black, comma, black. These are all people, comma, black and red set of 2. These are all Amazon vendors. Amazon, for whatever reason, actually, this one is sold by Kitchen and Fulfilled. So they probably were a vendor. They probably switched back to a Seller Central, but they didn't change their title. I would love to actually find somebody fulfilled by Amazon who is shipped and fulfilled by Amazon who has taken advantage of this opportunity. Because if they are, they have a product description that is something that we as Seller Central people cannot do. You know, with the images here and all this kind of layout. They have a video. Not just images, but then actual video on the left-hand side. That's when I get a little bit worried. If I have a couple of those on page 1 I'm competing against, because they have things that we do not have. But in general, when people take over, when Amazon becomes the shipper and the seller, that's usually a good sign for us, believe it or not. When you pick your product or 3 products, is it best to get them in the same category so that you can market to the same group of people for product 2, 3? Yeah, maybe. It's a secondary consideration, but it's not even that important. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's just get a decent product, get it listed, get going. And then from there, we can determine what we want to do next. So I don't even care about same categories. In fact, I pick from many different categories, so I don't shortchange myself from opportunity. Is there any good way to tell how many units are selling per day, per week? There is. It's called the crystal ball method. Ben Cummings teaches that in his group coaching, which you get a bonus on, right? But the reality is it's a little bit labor intensive. I just go straight by bestseller rank. That's how I do it. It's not perfect, but it's the best damn way I know how to do it. So we go by bestseller rank, which usually predicates demand. If there's a couple people on page 1 that are all selling decent, then there's pretty good demand there. And we're off to the races. At the end of the day, we have to take the long-term approach. I want multiple products all selling really well, so it doesn't matter if this product does 6,000, this one does 12,000, this one does 15,000, this one does 8,000 a month. Over time, with enough products, we'll hit one that just goes crazy. But even our okay ones still do pretty good. What is your opinion on the importance of product branding? It's very important, but it's not critical when you first start. Here's where product branding becomes important. I want to look different than everybody on page 1. I want to stand out in a way that's still favorable to the consumer. That's where branding is important to me. So in a lot of areas, they do very impersonal, very corporate-y, very stiff type of stuff, so we want to be personal. If everybody's doing cutesy-wootsy stuff, then we don't do cutesy-wootsy stuff, right? So branding is more important as you build your business, so people become to identify with you. But up front, we just consider differentiation, and that's the main thing. And that's how we can stand out on a page 1 listing, by just being different than what's generally listed on page 1 for a particular product that we're considering. I found a couple of products that I like where the best supplier option is basically the exact same product that another seller on Amazon is selling. Should that dissuade me? No, that should encourage you, as we've already discussed on this video. In the fast track video you mentioned we can source 3 products and see which one gets there first. Did you mean we should order 3 different products at the same time when launching our first product? No. What I meant is, like, if I have 3 options and I'm talking to multiple suppliers for those 3 different options, a couple of those can flake out, and at the end I'll still have a good product. So even I don't care at the end if it's my favorite or my second or my third favorite product from a high demand, low supply perspective. Whoever supplier I get first that signs off on is going to be my first product. So I have 3 or 4 or 5 products in the iron at the same time, because whoever pops off first is whoever I'm going with. But I don't mean to do 3 actual products simultaneously. I mean get 3 or more products up to the point where any one of those, just signing a purchase order, could get it going. That's what I mean. So then you can pick out of those 3, whichever one gets there first is the one you can sign the PO for. Should we start with the end in mind? I'm referring to the fact that whatever product you are choosing, you need to promote it, create a site, create videos. For instance, I see promotions for products showing in videos real people using the product. How can I create such videos? I don't think you should start with the end in mind. I know that sounds crazy, but you don't even know what the end looks like. We start with the beginning in mind. The beginning being, let's get our product listed on Amazon that seems to meet the criteria of high demand, low supply, and let's do anything and everything that we think is smart to do initially to jumpstart it to get some sales on Amazon, right? I guarantee you with any product we're selling on Amazon, you can figure out a way, regardless of what you do or do not know today, to make that product work. So let's not bog ourselves down too much with the end result in mind and just get moving, and then we can adapt as we need to adapt. When product searching, do you judge the strengths of competing products based on their number of reviews too? For BSR, I think you recommend not to go beyond 1100. How about reviews? What's the magic number? Yeah, I talked about this earlier, but at the end of the day, if there's a lot of people with a lot of reviews, doesn't scare me as long as there's some people with not a lot of reviews on page one. So we did cover this, but I just felt it bared repeating. The most important thing for me is bestseller rank, and then I consider a supply based on factors such as, are there only relevant results on page one? Are there people that look brand new on page one? Are there people on page one that are wholly unoptimized that we can compete with? Stuff like that. That's the main consideration. Now, I love this. This might be my favorite question. It says, hi, Jason. Additionally, the data in the matrix seems to be quite outdated. It seems, for example, the BSR for some products are off by thousands. That is incredible. How do we best use the tool at our expense to find the product? Sometimes I feel that trying to use the tools are counterproductive, which shouldn't be the case. Fantastic question. The only thing that the bestseller matrix is there for is to spur ideas. So if you see a product that's currently, last time we logged the data, because keep in mind we crawl over 22 million pages to input that data. It takes us a long time just to crawl all those pages, and then every time we crawl them, we turn around and recrawl them again. That's why the data isn't up to date. The point of it is, though, is to spur an idea. So if I see, ooh, hitch lock, and I click on one, and it says over here the BSR for it's supposed to be 206, but when I click on it, it's now 4007, right? That's not the point. The point is we then take that keyword hitch lock and we search it through and we say, are there 2 or 3 or 4 people selling on page one that seem to be doing okay? Great. There's going to be fluctuations in almost everybody's bestseller rank depending on numerous amounts of factor. We just want to know is, for this type of product, is there enough demand for people searching and buying on Amazon across multiple products on page 1, 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, right? That's all the matrix does. So how do you best use the tool at your expense to find the product? You use it to spurn ideas that seem to go along with a lot of the primary considerations and then optionally the secondary considerations, which we've talked about here today. If you feel that the tools that you're using are counterproductive, which shouldn't be the case, then use less tools and only use tools that make the most sense for you, that get you to move forward. Yes, if you're going to use multiple tools, they will contradict themselves, they will be counterproductive and all that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, you have to take responsibility because you're the person who chose to use these tools and try to make sense of them all. We don't get a perfect spit out with these tools, we get an idea to help us move forward based on the criteria that I have recommended. And along the same lines, this is what I also love. I would love to see in this video as clear as possible criteria for product selection and a sequence of clearly outlined actions. So far the information is too much, it's overwhelming, it's contradicting and confusing. Right now I do not know what to do for product selection and I'm just waiting for module 2. Okay, lots of things going on here. First of all, just waiting is never the solution. As I discussed in yesterday's video, never ever wait, always be moving forward. So change your strategy if your strategy is waiting. It should never ever be waiting. Okay, the other thing is, if the information is too much, choose which information to select from and follow. That way it's not too much. If it's overwhelming, ask yourself, how can I take in information in a way that is not overwhelming? Okay? Information will always be contradicting. What I suggest is going to be different than what Matt Clark suggests. It's going to be different even if I suggest you specifically personally something as opposed to somebody else personally, because context is king, okay? And so the point of it is there is no magic formula. There is no exact specific process, an exact mathematical formula that will find you a perfect product every single time. Again, the reason why we make money is because to run a business requires some creative input on your part. So I hope I have done that here today with a specific criteria for product selection. I have aimed to make it flexible enough to adhere to the fact that there's many different people watching this from many different walks of life, and there's many different categories on Amazon, all with daily minor fluctuations this way and that way. So I haven't locked this into any corner that makes it too rigid in its approach, so we all end up with the same kind of stuff, right? I hope to make it flexible enough while still making it easy to follow. But at the end of the day, I've outlined it. The 3 primary concerns. All the secondary concerns are, you might need them or you might not need them. But make sure the primary concerns are met. Rank your products in order. Have multiple products to consider to go to suppliers with. And then pick the one that seems to make the most sense to you to easily get it on Amazon as fast as possible. That is the thing. If you're having trouble understanding it beyond that, then ask yourself, what do I need to do today to move one step closer to where I want to be? And never, ever, please never wait. That's the worst thing that anybody can do in this business. So with that said, to summarize this video, here's the final analysis. You're going to do more products anyway, so just get the first product good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just get it going, get it on there, see what happens, right? Here's the reality. I know authorized ways of getting Seller Central accounts. So if you screw this one up, you really kaput the damn thing, we can fix that. You can always update the product. So later on, if you want to have version 2.0, or if you want to rebrand it or do all that kind of stuff, we can do that as well, okay? Get it going, then get it right. Okay, when in doubt, simplify. Get it going, then get it right. Anything you do is better than doing nothing. And so consider what I'm talking here about. Use these as general guidelines. Demand is the most important thing for a product. The second most important thing is lack of supply. Then profit margin and ease of private labeling. Have multiple options to choose from with multiple suppliers, so that way you can pick which one seems to make them the quickest attempt to make some money online in a short period of time. And know that you're going to have more products anyway, so then you can go back and do more products later, and eventually across the board with multiple products, you are on the path to fulfilling all your dreams with this ASM business. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll speak again with you shortly.